Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Full game for the win! Ayla's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Glad to have you along. Hope you're ready for the weekend. You made it through the week. Survived. It was a kind of a chilly one. It was cool.
Short week.
But
Short week.
that too. Looking for some good temperatures though soon, at least for a little bit. So looking forward to that. Yeah, that would be nice. Indiana taking on Purdue on Sunday in a big game for them. And of course, in addition to that, you've got the coaching search going on, which I just said over and over, it's going to be weeks before you hear anything. The only thing before you join us, I said the only thing that you could hear is if someone said I'm not a candidate, like Brad Stevens did, just to get out of that. And the only person, well, not the only, but if Dusty May is going to turn it down, I think that if that is a decision he comes to sooner rather than later, he will do the generous thing and get that information to Scott Dolson so Scott Dolson can move on. But I would also imagine that an announcement, I don't know if an announcement would be made, or because where that would send, just that going out would send the Indiana fans into this frenzy of who's next, who's up, which that is the big question, because to me, it starts and ends with Dusty May, and it's going to be his to turn down. But if he were to turn it down, what is that first next call?
I mean,
exactly.
I think it's the normal names. I think obviously, and I'll just I don't have inside information. I'm just gonna say this is how I'm looking at it. If Dusty May doesn't sign an extension with Michigan before the end of the season,
right,
he's holding out for something. Because if I'm Michigan, and I could be wrong, maybe they're not going to offer it. Maybe they're not offering an extension. But if I'm Michigan right now, I'm going at him right now. Because I got first dibs. Like, they're allowed to talk to him right now. Obviously, as an employee of the university, like I'm trying to extend him right now. And if that extension, there would be no reason to not sign that extension unless you had the smallest crack of maybe you might go somewhere else. And, I think that's somewhere else for Dusty May. I think probably, there's only a small handful of schools that would be, with what he's done at Michigan this quickly. I think, the Indiana job is probably the dream job. I think that, and don't know that, but given his location of growing up and what he did for Coach Knight and as a manager, I would assume that's a dream job. Don't know that. But if he doesn't sign an extension, I would say that's a sign. That's a good sign for Indiana fans. I don't think he really needs to make an announcement or do anything if he doesn't sign that extension. Michigan has to be trying to extend him. So I just leave that at that. Beyond that, I mean, I think Bruce Burrell's probably, is that crazy? Maybe. It might be. I mean, would you leave the situation he's created for himself and at Auburn? I mean, maybe, probably not, maybe. But I think he's definitely a guy that you talk to I think the other names that we've all heard, Chris Beard and I think the McCollum guy at Drake is somebody that I really think that I don't even know if Dusty May was the number one candidate. I don't know that would be my only interview. Like I truly believe like I would try to interview 5 people. I don't if they gave a list of football coaches last year that they were going to interview across the country, and one of those 5 names was Curt Cignetti, I don't think Indiana fans would have been sitting here going, "Oh, well, if they can get him, they have to sign him over all the other candidates." But look how that's worked out, and it's just the right fit. And I mean, he has pushed every right button that there is. I mean, I'm not going to beat that dead horse. We all agree what a successful season Curt Cignetti had in year 1 at Indiana football. I think that only came from Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten sat down across from him. He wowed them to the point where they walked out of that meeting and said, that has to be our next football coach. And there might be that scenario in basketball. There might be a guy that we don't think is in that category that can do that. And to throw names out there, I mean, we're all going to do it. That's what we do. That's why we love sports. That's why that's why our shows are still in existence. But I hope that Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten and the powers that be there sit down and interview some people and walk out of a meeting and go, that needs to be our guy.
Yeah, the one thing that they're doing different this time for the basketball coach is the same thing they did do when they hired Curt Cignetti, is use the search firm. And that gives to me is great, because you have someone that they're going out and looking through all of these guys. They know who the candidates are as well. Now they vet them, they go through them and do all the things that it's difficult for an athletics department to do. But this obviously worked very well in this Curt Cignetti.
Why is that? What do you mean? Like, I don't understand.
Well, I meant doing.
I'm not trying to be
argumentative. Doing background checks and all this stuff. They do all that kind of stuff. So, and you don't have like in-house that you don't have a department to do all that. So, but using it worked well for the Curt Cignetti hire, and that's kind of how they arrived at that.
But Jim, they use those search committees. I remember Greenspan hiring some committee out of wherever. Like, they've used those search committees for every hire that we've done so far, except for Woodson. And it's just never worked out. Like,
Fred Glass didn't use one. That's what Fred Glass didn't use one when he hired Archie.
I mean, you know what I mean. Like, we've just like, I remember Greenspan hiring somebody on the outside, and hey, Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten have a pulse on this university and what they want. And I think that they probably learned a ton of stuff. They didn't just get lucky with Curt Cignetti. I think they probably taught themselves some things. They learned the process a little bit more. Every time you go through it, hopefully you come out of it better on the other end. And hopefully, I just don't think, unless it's Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is a no-brainer. I mean, but I'm just saying, unless a guy like that says, yes, I'm going to take that job, I do think you go through the interview process. I think even though I think Dusty May is candidate 1A, I think you interview 1B and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and just see. You might walk out of those meetings, and like I can tell you, I know specifically of a Division I program in the state of Indiana that they knew who they wanted to hire. They brought a couple people in for an interview process, and they didn't hire the guy that they for sure thought they were going to hire before the interview process. They hired somebody different because somebody walked in and wowed them. And I'm not saying it always works out, because that scenario didn't work out either. But I just want Indiana to look. I respect what they did with Coach Cignetti. I think, like I said, he's pushed every right button, and I think that guy's out there, and you can find that guy. And I just don't. Like, I think Scott Dolson and Pam Whitten know more about the athletic department and Indiana University than some agency we're going to hire. So I trust them more than I would trust that.
I agree with you. They have done a great job, and I think that they know the importance of this. That's the thing. This is not just a oh, Indiana basketball needs to be good. No, it needs to be good for the university, for the school, for the town.
This is a Jim.
For
This
everything.
is a legacy. This is a legacy hire for Scott Dolson. This even with what he's done with Kurt Signetti
and Pam Whitten.
Hire.
And Pam Whitten,
Yeah.
because she was on the Kurt Signetti hire, and when you get to hook your name to that ride.
Yeah, but she could. She has other irons in the fire with the whole university. She's president of the whole university, not just athletics. So she's got a little more. This is Scott Dolson's whole baby. Like,
oh, absolutely.
You know, this is the whole thing. And I know there's a bunch of other programs involved, but this is the state of Indiana, and I'm not trying to be arrogant or a jerk about it, but basketball is king in Indiana. Football's king at Ohio State and Notre Dame and Georgia and all those places, but in Indiana, basketball is king at Indiana, and that's the hire you got to get right, and that's the one that they've struggled with. And I think this is the legacy one. I don't think if this one's the wrong hire, I don't think Scott Dolson gets another chance.
Why has it been so hard for Indiana to get this right? This hire, because
my honest opinion, because they've had the wrong people. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I hate when I just said, you want me to be honest with you? I hate when people say that, because that means the rest of the stuff I said wasn't honest with you. But I mean, I'm just going to be point blank about it. Like, I think they've taken the wrong approach. The wrong people have been making I don't want a search committee. Like, Scott Dolson knows what this university needs. He knows the process. I think he needs to be given the rope to make that hire on his own. Pam Whitten would be involved also. I'm not just saying, but I mean, I don't need a search committee. I don't need the board of directors to tell me, who we're going to hire. And
well, I don't think there's like
power.
I don't think the search committee is doing that so much as just doing the background stuff for them, the tedious stuff for the.
I mean, if somebody is already a head coach, let's use Chris Beard. Let's just not mince around it. Let's just use Chris Beard. He's been vetted by the people at Mississippi. So I mean, like, if he's already a head coach at any university, Division 1, 2, or 3, he's been vetted at that point. Like, he's not a violent criminal that we got to be worried about or whatever. Do they all have, a lot of them have baggage of some sort? Almost every candidate's going to have some baggage. And I think that's why Brad Stevens is the one guy that doesn't have baggage. and he's got some issues that he and his family might have some personal issues based on what we've been told. I don't know that. But with the university, or people that have been at the university, or something that happened with the university. But I mean, he's probably the only candidate that he's been out of college basketball long enough. He doesn't have, anything that we've talked about. I don't know. I just think that these guys, the search committee thing, they all do it. I get it. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, I like I said, I think that they're just doing. I don't think they have any bearing on who the names are. Indiana may give them the list of names and just say, "Hey, I want you just to do this, crap that we don't want to mess with, that we don't have in-house people to do." And just like, it's like hiring a painting crew. You don't have your own painters. You just hire some outside painters. Hey, just paint these walls. I'm going to design it. And when you're done, but anyway, it's just going to be interesting, because if Indiana does not get their 1A, which I agree, 1A is Dusty May. It has to be. There's a possibility he says no. And if he says no, I don't know who 1B is. I don't know who 1C is. I don't know who 1D is. I know these listed names, but I don't know in which order they go in.
I agree. And the fun part is, for each person, for each fan, for each analyst, that list is different. 1B, 1A and 1A, 1B, and 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all different. They're in different orders. They might be the same names, but they're in different orders. And it's funny, because I talked last week with a very loyal fan of Indiana University and donates a lot, does a lot for the university. And the person who I consider 1B, consider a candidate because of some background information and stuff like that. And so it's just interesting to me. Like, he's just one.
Is that Chris Beard?
It might be.
Well, I'm one of those people that while I think that he would kill it at Indiana, I think he would be a great fit. I know that players would probably like to play for him in a way that they played, that you liked playing for the coach you played for in certain ways as the coach. But I don't know that they will be able to get past his baggage, I guess if you had to say.
I mean, I get it. I get what you're saying. And
I hate
that.
And it sucks because the whole thing is make Indiana basketball great again. Well, boy, it seems like it's a very easy solution. Well, you get Dusty. Oh, you didn't get Dusty? Okay, well, you get Chris Beard. It seems like a very easy solution. Unfortunately, it is not that simple.
I think it goes back to what I said a little while ago about Scott Dolson, and this is the legacy hire for Scott Dolson. This one can't be wrong. Like that, I don't think he'll get another opportunity if this one's wrong. And so, is he willing to put all of his weight behind someone that, if there was another issue, let's just call it straight out. If there was another issue with Chris Beard, the obvious thing everyone nationally would say is, well, they should have known that to begin with. Look, he has a history of doing that. But then on the other side, there are people who change. There are people who grow. And I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. And you're not either. And hopefully most people are improving and getting better. And so, I mean, do you give a guy a chance? Like those are the decisions that you have to weigh. And I honestly believe because of the size and the importance of the decision from Scott Dolson's perspective, because I think it's that important for his legacy as the athletic director at Indiana University. I think that those factors weigh bigger. I think you probably know I've been a Chris Beard advocate for like the last 10 years. Like I like his coaching style. He pays homage to Coach Knight on a regular basis, which, as an Indiana player that played for him, I appreciate. Not necessarily sure it puts him above anyone else in some people's eyes, but in mine, maybe it does. But I'll just say, like, I'm not the one, like, my reputation and my reputation and legacy as my job is dependent upon it, like it is for Scott Dolson. And I think Scott Dolson is in a position, this has to be the right hire. I think we said that last time. This is factual. Like I'm not even kidding. I don't think if this one doesn't work out in the first 4 years of this coach being here, I don't think Scott Dolson gets to make that decision next time.
Ironically, if you polled the fans, and I have, and I've seen another one, I think it would be shocking to people who haven't how far the difference in Chris Beard and Dusty May, the desired by fans. Chris Beard is a kind of a runaway leader in that category of that's who the everyday fans, that's who they want. They're tired of losing. They're tired of not seeing discipline on the basketball floor. They're tired of not seeing disciplined games, losing games because you're not disciplined, because you're not prepared, just because. And they know that there are coaches out there. Now, the one thing that I keep seeing people, well, you got to get an alpha coach. You got to have an alpha coach. Dusty's not alpha enough. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not sure I even know what that means anymore. How do you know what's going on behind practice walls? How do you know?
Yep.
Just because he doesn't cuss on TV, because he doesn't throw water bottles? I'm like, look, he freaking wins. He wins. He's won. He's won at two different places. He's about to do the unthinkable and take a crappy Michigan program that was in the dumpster and win the Big Ten with them. How hard is it? And if he wins the Big Ten, does that make it harder for him to leave Michigan?
Well, I mean, think about it this way, from a Dusty May perspective. If he had done, and he's getting accolades and national attention for what he's doing at Michigan, but just imagine this as an Indiana fan. If he had done this at Indiana, if Indiana had hired him a year ago and he had come in here in year one, built a new roster, and won the Big Ten or fought to win the Big Ten in year one, he would already have a statue built outside the arena for him. Now, Jim, that to me is why I do think there's a strong likelihood if he's offered the job, he takes it. Because they're not building any statues in Michigan. They're going to be very excited and happy that their basketball program is good. And at the end of the day, they can't wait till the spring football game. And then they can't wait for football season to come around. And that is the life forever. And I will tell you this, there might be some coaches that is what they want. They can hide behind, let's just say this. When you're at Georgia, if you have a mediocre year as a basketball team at Georgia, that's probably considered a win.
Yeah.
This is not entirely true. They don't really care. Like, I'm going to say they don't care because it's a football school. At the end of the day, it's a football school. And, I think that some coaches wouldn't mind hiding behind that, layer of expectations. But at Indiana, it's different. And if he had done what he did at Michigan this year at Indiana right now, I'm telling you, they would already be considering him one of the best of all time. And, they'd be talking about it. They'd be extending him until year 2075 right now.
And he would have done that because he would have brought Vladislav Golden with him. He would have brought a couple of the other players with him, and he would have had resources that he did not even have.
Agree.
So there's
totally
that.
agree. And that's why I think this job, that's why I think if he's offered it,
he's definitely going to be offered.
He's having at Michigan. I don't see how he turns it down, to be honest with you.
We shall see. What's up next for you, brother?
No, just excited to watch some basketball all weekend long.
Yeah, a lot of it, plenty of it. You got some warm weather coming, just not here yet, man. Nobody's been.
Usually the Indiana-Purdue weekend, I'd be so excited. It's a Sunday game. Like, you'd be so nervous for it all weekend.
Well, at least
unfortunately,
the game in West Lafayette should have given some hope. So maybe we'll see.
Sure.
Man, somebody send some get well packages to Todd, people. He's down. He's down. We got to get him back up.
Today. Yep.
Hey, brother, appreciate you as always. Have yourself a great weekend. Hello, sports fans. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you for stopping by our YouTube channel. Make sure to hit the subscribe and notifications toggle so you never miss a thing. All of our content up here every day. Looking forward to it. Thank you, and we'll see you on the radio.